Well, half of you are probably wondering why a family foundation from Northwest Arkansas is participating in a national conference about urbanism. And the other half of you are actually from Northwest Arkansas, so you're very familiar with what we're doing there. And I wanted to share a little bit about the collaboration that's happening across the region and how we're making our ripple effect go farther in the heartland of America. And I hope you take away three things from the presentation. The first is that the future of urbanism lies not just in our big cities, but in small towns and rural communities across the country. And the second is to think about how philanthropy can be a partner in this work and be a catalyst for change wherever you may be working. And the last is you'll know where Northwest Arkansas is and why you should care. If you don't know where it is, you're in good company. The Seattle Times posted this on Facebook after our region beat them for one of the best places to live in the US. And I myself had lived in Berkeley, London, and New York before moving to my husband's hometown of Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is a college town in the Ozarks, home to the University of Arkansas. But this was a region that had a lot of things going for it. It is right here in this corner. It's a two-county area, 1,800 square miles, 32 municipalities, with Fayetteville in the south and Bentonville anchoring it to the north with about 30 miles in between the two. And it has been very fortunate in that it has economic, cultural, and natural assets that have all come together at the right time. Over the past 25 years, the region has doubled in population to over 500,000 residents. It's been cited as the third fastest growing economy in the US. We have 3 Fortune 500 companies, including Walmart, Tyson Foods, and J.B. Hunt. And 5 years ago, also funded by the foundation, we opened Crystal Bridge's Museum of American Art. And there were skeptics across the country who said there's no way that an institution of that caliber can survive in a place like Northwest Arkansas. And in fact, the museum has exceeded all expectations. There have been over 3 million visitors since it opened, coming not just from the local region, but nationally and internationally from all walks of life. As all of these things were taking place within the region, and we were fortunate enough to have this incredible growth, there also came challenges that had to be mitigated. And you had pockets of progressive elected officials and planners working in the region, but there wasn't anything necessarily uniting everyone. And so around this time, the foundation also began to think about what role we could play in the region. And we began to ask big questions, like, what if we were able to get in front of all this growth and enhance and protect our sense of place? What if philanthropy could play a key role in being a convener of the business, nonprofit, and public sectors? And what if we had something that united us, both figuratively and literally, in a way that would make us one region and form a regional identity? And we looked at the assets we had available to us. As Todd mentioned, he's been there, and there are incredible natural resources within the area. And we also looked at what other cities have been doing to protect and enhance their sense of place. And we landed on the idea of building out a trail network that would make the community more livable, would incentivize healthier lifestyles, and could also begin creating an alternative transportation network. And in 2009, the idea of the Razorback Regional Greenway was formed. And the city of Fayetteville had already been building a main corridor running north-south. And this idea was to take that corridor and extend it. So it was ultimately 36 miles. And this trail required incredible collaboration among many partners. It actually runs through 6 different municipalities. And the idea was to connect downtowns, schools. School districts were incredibly important in not just this early project, but then in providing bike programs for their students. And we knew it would also connect cultural institutions, and it would also open up access to some of our natural resources that had previously been unexplored. And in addition to this trail system, we began funding natural surface trails across the region as well. This created an ecosystem of partners who were all united in the same vision. And while we think our resources were important to the project in order to leverage federal funding and invite people to the table, we really think the power of philanthropy was in our ability to convene a number of different stakeholders and cross not only municipal lines, but ideological lines as well, to really have one vision for the region. And we also were able to bring in a number of trail building companies from across the nation who'd done this really well and ensure that our trails were built to a standard that made it accessible not only to world-class mountain bikers, but people of all ages and fitness levels across the region. And so what have been the results? Well, just like Crystal Bridges, the trail network exceeded our expectations. When we conducted a trail user count in 2015, we found that Northwest Arkansas has almost as many cyclists daily per capita using our trail system as San Francisco. That's remarkable. When we did a quality of life survey, we found that 69% of residents reported using the trail within the past 12 months, making it one of the most used amenities within the region. And more than that, it, I think, gave everyone a sense of possibility about what could be accomplished within the region when we all came together. And we began thinking about what next. And this user survey or user count actually informed some of that, because what we saw was that while we had a lot of people using the trail system, most of them were using it outside of peak commute hours, meaning it was primarily a recreational facility, or they were using it for trips other than getting to work or school. And we began to think about why that would be the case. And working with our partners in the region, we landed on this idea that our streets needed to be safer for cyclists so they could actually get door to door and it could truly become an alternative transportation system. And so as a way to build on the momentum that we'd earned during this process, we supported a delegation of Northwest Arkansas business people, appointed officials, city engineers, and nonprofits in partnership with Bike NWA and People for Bikes, and took them to the City Builder Symposium in Copenhagen. And what was incredible about this experience is that it was transformative not just for the individuals who attended, but for the group as a whole, because it gave people an opportunity to actually experience the transportation facilities that were there and the way that Copenhagen has managed to seamlessly integrate different modes of transportation. We had city engineers out there measuring protected bike lanes with tape measures, but we were also able to have conversations across multiple sectors and disciplines about what we could take from Copenhagen and then implement in Northwest Arkansas. So upon return, we immediately launched 3 tactical urbanism projects that experimented with protected bike lanes in 3 municipalities. And we ensured that this project coincided with the International Mountain Bicycling Summit, which brought in 600 cyclists from 40 different states and 11 countries into our region who could actually test some of these facilities. And what we found was that one city had incredible success. In fact, they created their protected bike lane right where they already had cyclists who were just using the same area, but not very safely. And people were using the facility before the paint even dried. And in the other 2 cities, it was an opportunity to get feedback where they found that they probably needed to tweak the design itself, or in fact where it was placed, which was the whole purpose of the project, and we're hoping to launch several more this year. And then we asked ourselves a bigger question. If transportation was going to fundamentally change the way the region's quality of life played out and would have impact for generations, then we needed to look at mass transit. And that's why I'm pleased to share that we have a contingent of Northwest Arkansans at CNU to talk specifically about mass transit and what that might look like in Northwest Arkansas. And I think the powerful thing about this is that here at the Congress, we have not just elected and appointed officials, we have city staff, we have bike advocacy organizations, we have the heads of our transit systems, and as well as foundation staff to have this conversation together. And in fact, we spent this morning at Seattle DOT getting on their bus rapid transit system and learning about how they were able to rapidly implement and also all the considerations that they needed to take in terms of their discussion before they implemented. And so Jarrett Walker was actually there with us, and I know our entire delegation learned a lot, and it will be even more powerful when we go back and have discussions about how we can implement in Northwest Arkansas. You know, before I worked at the foundation, I was a planner at the city of Fayetteville. And one thing that became clear to me was that places that are wonderful places to live and where the quality of life is superb are the result of generations of good decision making. And so a lot of times I think about the foundation in terms of the big picture and about just being part of the good decision making that's been happening in Northwest Arkansas for a long time. I also want to share, though, that when I was recently hiring a staff member, she was considering moving from San Francisco to Northwest Arkansas. And I asked her about why she was incentivized to move to Northwest Arkansas and how she was thinking about that. And she said, well, I don't think there's any place where you can make a bigger difference right now. And I think that's true. I think this is where there's the untapped potential, is in Middle America, where there are communities that are ripe for these kinds of investments and where your ripple effect goes farther. And second, I hope that this gives you some food for thought about how philanthropy can be a partner in your work and potentially bridge your theory of change with practical implementation. How can philanthropy amplify your message or leverage your resources in a meaningful way? And I hope that this story also demonstrates how collaboration can really make your ripple of change go farther and positively impact your quality of life.